Hey listener, welcome to 1000 Routes. I'm your host, Nick Bennett. In each episode, we explore the uncommon paths of solopreneurs who have bet on themselves and the reality of what it takes to build a business that serves your life. And if you want to change your own route, you can check out Full Stack Solopreneur, our 90-day group coaching program that has helped dozens build clear, compelling offers that you can market and sell with confidence. You can join now at fullstacksolo.com. That's fullstack, SOLO.com. Enjoy the episode. Talk to me about how you decided to take on some new sponsorships and how you decided you want to move beyond, move beyond coaching, but add in new streams, new models to what you're doing.
So I'm about 4 years into this journey. We're recording this. It's the very end of April, beginning of May, depending how you slice it. And in June, as of the first week in June, I will be 4 years on my own. And probably like many of your listeners, my job and like my business has morphed a lot in those 4 years. And there's been a few iterations of it. And I had another baby this past year. So she's 11 months old now, just about to be 1 year old.
Hell yeah.
And
congrats.
Thank you. And as part of that, like many parents, I just realized I have less time. And it's like, I have less time. I have less energy to be working after hours and on the weekends, and I need to be more efficient. And it's like, do I have the right business to support the life that I want? Like the life that I want, I think looking ahead isn't to be the person who's like the super high ticket on a million Zoom calls, making seven figures, but like in meetings all day, every day. Like that to me is not success. And so when I think about the business and the life that I want, what I'm really after is, and I did this exercise where I tried to think through what would be the ideal week. And so for me, it was like, what I really enjoy doing is talking to people. I enjoy creating content. I enjoy helping people at scale. And I do like some one-to-one stuff. And I try to think through what would an ideal week look like? Well, it would look like maybe a couple coaching calls, but maybe one a day, a little bit lighter lift. And it would be more focused on creating content. And so I try to think through, well, what could that business look like? And so for me, I think it looks like scaling my podcast and getting some sponsorships, and to really see if there's a future where my content and sponsorships could make 80% of my income, and my one-to-one, like selling dollars for time, could make up much smaller percentage. And so that's where I'm headed. And I'm many steps away from that. But the first step for me this year was to see, could I get to a place where maybe half of my income would be sponsorships versus services? And that's the goal that I have in front of me. And that's some of the moves that I'm making right now.
How far towards that goal are you?
I'm on the journey. So I shared with you a revenue goal that I won't share publicly just because it feels like a personal goal that I'm happy to share privately to folks. But I have a revenue goal in mind. And as I said, I want to make half of that from services, half from sponsorships and media and programs, one-to-many stuff. So I am on pace, if not slightly ahead of pace on the services half. And I'm at 50% of pace on the other side. So I got some work to do on that side of the business. And that's where my focus is.
And what are you doing though to, like, what types of things are part of the partnerships and sponsorship stuff? Because I think that's the side of this work that everyone thinks is arguably the easier side. Because they're like, oh, like build an audience, get some sponsors, like do a couple posts on LinkedIn, you'll make some money, like life is good. But I think that is arguably the harder way to build a business. How's that working for you? Or what types of things are you doing to be able to generate that revenue, I guess?
The primary thing that I can sell would be sponsorship or ambassadorship via my podcast and Substack list. I'm really not into pay to play on LinkedIn. Like, I'm sure that there could be money to be made there. But when I think about long-term as a business owner, that to me is just not interesting. I'd rather promote my own stuff. Like, it's hard to promote on LinkedIn. It's hard to get noticed on LinkedIn. It's hard to break through the clutter. And if I'm going to do all that effort, I want to be promoting my own shit. And so, you know, like, just to put it how it is. And so candidly, I'm making my own programming, and primarily I'll use LinkedIn to promote that and do all that stuff. On the other side of things, what I try to do, and I've done a mix of outbound and inbound for this, but I try to find companies where either I'm a former customer, where I know the audience is aligned because I was the audience and I was the customer, and I reach out to those folks, or I try to create relationships with those folks and then find ways to partner with them where they'll sponsor my media and we can find a win-win scenario. Sometimes I've created content for them or like in partnership with them. Like I've done some cool stuff with app queues where they make user onboarding software. I talk a lot about new user onboarding. I created a program that they use, and they use it as a lead magnet, and they've put some paid dollars behind it, and I've helped to amplify that a little bit. And that's like kind of a cool way where I created something with them. They get a bunch of leads that they can nurture. They can track the conversion from lead to sale. And then I also talk about that on my pod and in my newsletter and things like that.
All right. I like this is like a different approach to what is like a more conventional type of engagement where people are like, all right, we need a 60-second ad read in the beginning of your podcast. We need like 50 words at the end of your newsletter, like kind of the more basic stuff that people think about.
And I try not to sell it that way. So I only reach out to companies where I know the space super well. And ideally, I've used the product. And then that way, it's not an interruption with me sharing some like super hokey, clearly pre-written ad thing. And I can talk more about, hey, when I was leading growth, I had these challenges and I use this tool, and I'm super excited to be partnering with this company because I think you should be using this tool. And here's the things that are exciting about it. And here's a Andrew branded link so that hopefully I get a little attribution credit. And it's more of that, which feels better.
Yeah, totally. No one wants, because you know how many people are peddling junk they've never used and stuff like that. It's like, and that's your reputation and your credibility.
100%.
It's not worth it for something that to make a little bit of affiliate commission or something, or some affiliate commission that Honey's going to steal from you anyway.
Totally. Or you get into the opposite place, right? So, or you could get into the place where you don't have a relationship, you're not really operating as an ambassador, and you're just a CPM, right? It's just another place to be negotiating down the cost per. And I've had potential sponsors reach out who I thought would be a good fit, and they tried to evaluate it that way, and it's not the right fit.
This is the big shift, right? People originally saw people with an audience. I'm trying to avoid saying the word influencer. People saw someone with an audience and they were like, oh, well, we can get in front of X many new eyeballs in a more direct way versus working with it or treating it like a creator and saying, so, well, how do we tap into that influence? And this is like a huge, people talk about this one a lot, but the difference between an influencer and people with influence. I think you have a lot of influence in the PLG space. It's not like a secret.
I think about it like attention versus influence. And so I think about myself, like I don't mind the term influencer, I don't think. To me, it's like, I don't have a massive audience. I have a reasonably sized audience, but I have a lot of influence with that audience. I'm not great at capturing attention. You know, like when you think about all the things you could do to capture attention, and I think traditionally the term influencer has kind of that like negative asterisk next to it because it's someone who is great at capturing attention, but maybe actually doesn't have that much respect from their peers and experience in the space and like hasn't really been in the trenches getting the reps. And then I think about myself as the opposite of that, where it's like, well, I've done all those things. I'm just not great at shouting, you know, I'm just not great at capturing the attention of people. And so that's where I'm okay with that term and sort of how I think about the difference.
100% agree. The influencer is this like known for the sake of being known versus person with influence is known more so for the reputation and the work that they've done. Like you're way more focused on doing the work than you are talking about doing work. And that makes a big difference. Okay. So that's the brand partnership side of stuff that you're working on. What's the other side of things? So you talk about coaching, but then there's other products and services within the coaching arm of your business that you've been working on. So what's new in that on that side?
Yeah. Two things are new. So I have traditionally had one offer. Or two offers, I should say. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, you can subscribe to my content, but if you want to work with me and you want to pay me money in exchange for some of my experience and my knowledge and my game, basically the only way to do that would be to buy one of my services. So there's two. I can work with you one-on-one as a coach for people who lead growth teams, or I can work with your team as an advisor, giving them direction and feedback and guidance and helping them grow faster. What I have learned is that the thing that I'm most passionate about is the coaching. So like helping an individual to me is more intrinsically motivating than helping a company win. Like there's a million VC backed companies out there that make a bunch of VCs rich. I'm not super stoked on helping those people make more money. I'm more helpful or I'm more passionate about helping the individual who's in the trenches, grinding it out, hoping that someone doesn't get hired above them, wondering if this could finally be their thing, trying not to get laid off, dealing with the feedback, right? It's that person to me is more exciting to help. And there's a lot of people in my space that are like that, who reach out, who want to work with me, and maybe the timing isn't quite right or my price point isn't the right fit for them. And so I want to create something else for those folks. And there's two pieces to this. There's a free piece. So I just launched a free 5-day email program, which has been really cool. And then I've been working on behind the scenes with every spare minute of my day, creating a lower ticket offer that's a self-guided mix of videos and text templates, all that kind of stuff program, really sharing my operating system. So doing a lot of the things in a self-guided way that I'll work on usually with, in a one-to-one way with my clients so they can help themselves when I'm not there. That's what I'm working on now is I've had this big gap where it's been like, hey, follow me on these discovery platforms and then pay me to work with me. And now I've got, discovery platforms, engagement platforms, which is really the podcast and email. I've got some lead magnets now kind of in the middle of the funnel. And then I'm trying to fill that low ticket offer in hopes of eventually upgrading folks and having some of them work with me in a one-to-one way, but still providing a ton of value regardless if that outcome happens.
Yeah, I like to think about this like the good, better, best. It's a simple way to go about it, right? You have either free or like a 3-figure offer. Most people will put free or 3 down there. And then there's like a 4-figure offer, some sort of like maybe group coaching or cohort-based program. And then there's like the 5-figure offer. That's like the done for you or coaching or consulting or whatever it is, like the higher ticket. We joke that it's the super ding dong offer. And where you're at is like, well, everyone will always notice the downward pressure on the market, I think, no matter what you're doing. There's always going to be that price conscious subgroup. Like, all right, well, I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. What do I do about it? And trying to figure out the engagement model. So are you trying to build a self-paced course to fit that need?
100%. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that when I first went on my own, June 2021, like 2 months before that, I had written this blog post that went completely viral in my space. And so I'd written it about how to approach your first 90 days if you're leading a growth team. And I literally just deconstructed what I did at my last full-time gig and I turned it into a blog post and it got shared and reshared and it ended up making the Medium page for like growthhackers.com and it got a whole bunch of engagement. And I was like, oh, that's really
Hell
cool.
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, it was dope. It was totally unexpected. I didn't think that was going to happen. It just took off in my world. And I was like, well, shit, I should make that into a program. And so I made it into a self-guided course. And I think I charged like $199 for it. I sold it. I made a little PDF that was a download with it. I sold some of those too. But my audience was so small and I didn't have an email list really. And so it was sort of the wrong timing for that. I have since turned that into a free offer. It's a lead magnet for me. I think it ranks number 1 on SEO for like head of growth, what to do or something like that. And so every month it gets a lot of downloads and those folks join my email list. And so I have tried to think a lot about how can I provide value to my community in a different way. And some of my one-to-one clients have basically hit me over the head and told me that I need to do this. Like one of my one-on-one clients right now is a head of growth. He lives in New Zealand. He's like, dude, you have so much good shit. There's no reason why you shouldn't be doing a course. You should be putting ads behind it. You should be using it to nurture your email list. I would be paying for that. And so I'm like, all right, enough people have told me some flavor of that story where I'm turning my process into a program and we'll see, right? Like anything, it's a bet. It's an experiment. If it works out, great. I'll make more stuff and I'll enhance it. I'll make it better and maybe explore coaching cohorts alongside of that. And if it doesn't, then like, that's cool too. We'll just see.
That was my next question. So why self-paced course over group or cohort-based coaching?
Super simple answer. It's more exciting to me. I did a group coaching program at one point and it just didn't give me energy. It's like at some point, I did it for 6 months. I had 4 folks that were enrolled in it. Amazing folks. A couple of them continued on with me one-on-one for a long time after the group. And what I found is at the end of every group session, I just didn't feel high energy. I felt lower energy. It was an energy draining activity. And if you're going to work for yourself and it's going to be hard, you might as well do shit that gets you excited. And it didn't get me excited, so I stopped doing it.
What about it do you feel like drained you in a different way than how private adds to you?
A huge part of my coaching is learning the context of what's going on with different people and their personalities and the culture of the company that they're in, and then customizing my solutions and my problem-solving approach and my curriculum to help them navigate that. And it's different for everyone. And what I found is that I didn't have a shared language for the people who are on that cohort to have. And so I'd be talking to Nick and I'd be talking to you and you'd be like, well, here's the problem that I have. And my boss is like this, and I'm at this stage and my company's this far along and my team looks like this. And then there'd be someone else on the call and they'd be like totally zoned out, not paying attention. So a lot of what I was trying to do was to be like, hey, person A, listen to Nick's challenge. It's actually similar to the challenge that you have. Here's how it relates. And so I was doing so much of that connecting, and I just didn't like that. And so I actually think it could be different with this program, because the program, I've worked on my curriculum now for 3 more years. And so this group program is a shared language. It is a shared vocabulary. It is an order of operations, and it creates artifacts that I make with every one of my clients. Now, they didn't at that point. So I'd be curious if the group program could feel different for me.
That is probably the toughest part about the group program, which is how do you avoid coaching with a queue, which is basically what you described. You're like, okay, well, I'm talking to this person, this other person's checked out, they're waiting their turn.
Right.
How do you avoid coaching with the queue and find the question behind the question that everyone is trying to ask, or that you're like, okay, like how do I draw more parallels to keep the group engaged and coach the group all at once? Erica and I have struggled with that with full stack. It's just a very real problem, and it's not easy to do.
Yeah.
To manage that, because oftentimes you find yourself just to be the most effective, you try really hard to get all of the details out of this one person so that you can just coach them, because you're like, I just want to be really helpful for you.
Right.
And some people are really great at drawing the parallels. Like we survey people, we ask them like, was this helpful? Is this environment, is this model helpful for you? A lot of people have said, yeah, it's really great to hear what people are working through and how they're trying to work through it. And then there's a handful of people that are, like you just said, that kind of just checked out waiting their turn. And it's like, well, I don't know if there's one model that's right or works better than the other, but it's definitely like, it's a choice that you have to make when you're building something.
So when I did it, there were 3 calls a month. I did it for 6 months. One call was a group mastermind, but basically a group hot seat. And I would send out questions in advance. I would try to circulate the answers in advance so that everybody could read and come prepared. And what I found is like, that was hard, right? Like sometimes it worked, but most of the time it was hard. It required multiple follow-ups, and I'd send the read, hey, did you read it beforehand? No. Okay, great. And so that made it challenging. The other call was a Q&A with someone who wasn't me. So I'd bring in other experts in my space, and it was send questions in advance. The guest comes on, and those were amazing. Incredible guests, incredible Q&A, like really intimate group, super vulnerable. Like that was everything I could have hoped for. And then the third call was a one-on-one with me. And basically at the end of the program, I did my own assessment, and I was like, well, I love the Q&A with a guest, love the one-on-one. And then basically the feedback from the participant, the enrollees was basically the same. Like, love the Q&A, love my time with Andrew. Mastermind was the third piece. So to me, it was like, all right, let me shelf this for a while. Maybe I'll revisit it down the road. Maybe not, but that was how that came about.
I like it. Trying to figure out how to adjust the engagement model is something that I'm like obsessed with right now. Just in my own business and hearing how other people are adjusting it. So, okay, let's straighten out the funnel real quick. You have the email course. That's where you're doing, it seems like you're putting a lot of effort into lead capture. I love the email courses. I'm a huge fan of them, just for the simple fact that it trains people to open your emails. If you look at the open rates on that stuff, it is crazy. People are looking for that email. To get a 70, 80% open rate on a newsletter is unheard of. But to do, all you have to do is call it an email course, and all of a sudden people open it. So it's wonderful. So I like that. And then the goal is basically nurture people through to the self-paced course. How are you positioning the self-paced course? Like, and where is this in development too? Like, when's launch? Like, talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so here's how it all fits together. The 5-day email program is really all about the problems that you should avoid, like some of the stepping stones that you don't want to touch, or some of the mistakes that I typically see. And it gives some advice on how to navigate them, but as much advice as you can give in a 5-day email program. So the program that I'm making, the paid program, the low ticket offer, goes deep on all that stuff. So it's 11 modules. Each of the modules breaks down some of the common things that I work on with folks. Within each module, there's like 7 or 8 sections. Each one of those sections is going to have a video when there's appropriate, there'll be a template where it's appropriate, some content from me, FAQs, things to avoid, all that good stuff. So it's going to be pretty in-depth. I would say I'm probably halfway done. So I started working on this 3 weeks ago, And I typically, like the way I run my business is I go uncomfortably fast. Because when I was in house, what I learned is if you give somebody 6 months to do a thing, it's going to take 6 months. If you give the same thing and you say, hey, is there a way for us to get it done in 6 weeks? Usually there is, and you have to just make trade-offs, and that's part of the deal. So I try to run my own business the same way, which is if I'm going to do this and I don't know if it's going to work and it's a little bit of an experiment, how can I get feedback fast? And I should probably just assume I'm wrong and things are going to change. And so speed to iteration is important. How do I get there? So I have a launch date in the back of my mind, which is the last week in May, before June. If that would be my ultimate goal. I don't want to sacrifice quality, but if I can get it 85 to 90% where the quality bar that I'm thinking about in my head, if I can get it there, I'm going to launch it the last week in May. If I can't get it there, I'm going to try to launch it the second week in June. But I want to make sure that I launch before I get too close to July, because everybody goes on vacation. That's when stuff slows down, and I don't want to be trying to generate noise and momentum during that period.
One of the questions I get a lot is, where do you build it? There's like an unlimited amount of places to build stuff. How did you decide? Like, where are you building it, and how did you decide?
So you gave me some free game, and I was thinking about school. In the context here, I guess I'll just be totally transparent. I have been thinking about doing some version of this for 2 years. I just didn't really know how to structure it, and I needed a framework or some guidance on how to make a better low ticket offer. Like, I just didn't really know how to do it. And the Ship 30 for 30 guys, so Dickie Bush and Nicholas Cole, they created a $350 program literally titled How to Create Your Low Ticket Offer. And I was like, fuck it, done. I'll just buy it. These guys are so good at like engineering content and frameworks to guide stuff. If anything, they're like too much the science of it, but they're good. And so I just bought it, and I've been following it. They built it on School. I thought it was pretty good. I haven't engaged in the community, but I really like the module setup and the progress tracker and all that good stuff. So I was thinking about School. When I sold stuff in the past, I had used Podia. And like full disclosure, I looked into turning my Podia plan back on because I've already used it. It's already hooked up to HubSpot. It's already integrated with my CRM. Like, I don't have to do anything extra. Price is reasonable. And they deleted all my content. So I had used Podia for like 2 years.
Damn.
And I paused it. I canceled it. I turned off my paid plan. I decided to cancel it. And I figured at some point I could come back and it would be all, dude, it's all gone. They didn't even save my login. And so I was like, all right, if I'm starting at zero, I got to really rethink what's the right tool here. So I reached out to my network, including you and Erica, because I knew you were on School. I liked the School experience for the Ship 30 for 30 thing that I took. There's no need to overcomplicate it, right? There's a million tools. They all can do kind of similar stuff. If there's something that's working, and if there's something that our audience and like potential enrollees are already used to, that's a great signal as well. So to me, School feels like a good place.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefit to School, and I'm a huge fan of the Ship 30 guys. I've purchased a bunch of their products in the past, and they do great work, and they're definitely on the science of some of this stuff for sure. Like that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I need that. It's like, I'm not super creative. I don't really understand what is good writing. Like, I'm one of those people, if you sent me something, you said, is this good writing? I'd like kind of have to read it and then tell you what I thought. Like, I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't know after writing something if it was good. And so I need some like paint by numbers way of thinking about stuff.
Yeah, they're good for that. They had a newsletter course. I mean, they're also doing these crazy viral product drops over and over and over again. And there's like a master class there for sure for what they're doing.
And if you look at their funnel, it's this, right? They literally talk about it. They're like, oh, we write on social. The whole point on social isn't to have a big following because followers are worthless. The whole point of having a big following on social is to get those people on your email list. So if you look at what they do, every post, I would say 4 out of 5 have a little CTA somewhere.
To an educational email course.
The entry of their funnel, regardless of what program, is a 5-day email course. At the bottom of the program, at the bottom of every email, there's like if you like this, here's this other thing that's sort of related, but way deeper that you might like. And I've heard them talk about it on podcasts. That's their whole funnel is that. And then they sell evergreen after their launch. And that's what I'm building towards.
Yeah, it's a fantastic model. I mean, it works super well. There's a lot of nuance to trying to actually make it work. Like the email stuff is way harder than I thought it was going to be. Just trying to spin the email flywheel of getting people to open and read your emails is one thing, but getting people to convert and give you money. So yeah, we did build on School. I think there's a lot of pros and cons to using a platform like School. One of the things I told you when we originally talked about it too was the checkout. The checkout on school is brutal. If you want to try and do a program that's like buy once, lifetime access type of thing to a course, school, you need like a separate checkout experience. And that's something that we implemented for full stack. Their UI is so simple and people seem to love that. So there's a lot of benefits to school, and it's like flat rate, unlimited people, like per whatever. This is not an ad for school, but I think there's a lot of pros to using that platform. The cons are that you're bound. Like it's so simple that they don't give you like any flexibility in terms of how you use or how you sell what you sell. Like we created a new calendar because their calendar was not very good. There's no notifications when you had events. We do group coaching. Maybe sometimes we have to move events and stuff. And that didn't really work out too well. Or we'd add events and no one would get notified. So there's definitely some pros and cons to some of those platforms.
What have you thought about the community in school? Because this is one of the other big things, right? If you're going to build a community where there's going to be discussion, the big debate is Slack or somewhere else. And so I'm curious, have you done Slack and school?
I have not. I have been part of ones that do offer, like they put the course inside of school and then they do the community inside of Slack. I don't know if it's better or worse. I would say the hardest part about the school community is great. It's like, if you're familiar with like Reddit style, like there's tags, there's just basically different discussions. And then there's the top line posts, like, and then there's threads within it. And then you can thread replies. Like it's just really simple, but they're notifications. Like if you're not always going into school, you're not going to get notified. And that's like one of the things that I have found to be frustrating. Maybe I just turned off my email notification or something, but it's like but I have not found a great way to manage that. But otherwise, like, yeah, the community's simple. It works. Like it's just simple. I can't and that there's a lot of value in that. Like we explored shifting it out of school and into Kajabi. And I think that Kajabi is like very full featured. And that is also there's too many options for people. Like everyone's in a community on Circle somewhere. Circle's like way over engineered.
So you talked about the issues with the checkout. Here's what I want to do. You can tell me if it's doable. I made the landing page on my site. I made it the other week. I'm a big believer in like make the landing page, float it out to, start teasing it to your audience, see if you can grow a little bit of a wait list. So I started doing that. I've got, 43 folks on the wait list after like 2 LinkedIn posts and a Substack email. So like or a Substack CTA. So I'm feeling like good about the initial momentum. But what I want to do is have the landing page hosted on my website. I like the ability to customize a landing page the way I want it to look and feel. And then having a CTA somewhere that says buy, that just takes you to a checkout page that lives somewhere else. Like, can I do that?
No, with school.
It's got to be their landing page?
School doesn't enable that. Like you can't embed a school checkout link or form somewhere else. We transferred our checkout to a tool called Samcart, which I actually heard about through the guys at Ship30.
Oh, okay.
They use Samcart and their order bumps and their add-ons and upsells and all these upsells and downsells and all the shit that I'm like, this is a phenomenal checkout experience. It's seamless. It uses Stripe payment links. So if you've ever purchased anything anywhere, it automatically grabs your credit card information because it's stored inside of Stripe. So it removes a lot of friction from the checkout, which you don't realize how much friction there is in a checkout experience until you compare to checkout experience. Or when you're sitting there scratching your head being like, how do I move my conversion rate from X to Y? You live in that world being in PLG. This is new to me. When we were saying you don't get a ton of data inside of the school checkout experience either. So we had to move that off and create our own checkout experience on our site. So we do what you're talking about. And we use Zapier to take the payment information and basically provide access to invite people into school and then give access to whatever courses inside of school or modules that we need to. So it's more work in terms of setup. Now, you don't need to use Samcart either though, right? A lot of people use Thrivecart. Thrivecart's is really popular because I think it's $500 for lifetime access. And then you can use that Zapier integration to give school access. So there's another simple option for you. There's a few different ways to go about it, but I would say if you're looking for it doesn't really matter if you're looking for lifetime access, like, hey, buy the course, you get lifetime access to this material. You need to move the cart somewhere else no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to do it. I'll figure it out. I'll use one of the third-party checkouts because like you, I'll be frustrated and I want to be able to know what's the conversion rate and did somebody do step one and then they dropped off before step two? If so, I'm going to want to do something with that information, right? There's a bunch of stuff there. And so I'll want that. And then I separately also am going to want to give any of my one-on-one clients access to this as well. Because really, this is a lot of my one-on-one process deconstructed. So this will help a lot of my one-on-one clients be more successful, and maybe it will help increase the engagement in the community, which I think is value add for everybody that's in there. And so I got to create some way to help folks get in, and I'll want the data, and I go through this all the time in my business. I've seen some stuff on LinkedIn where people are like, oh, I run a $700,000 business and I only spend $90 a month in software. And I'm like, that's bullshit. Yeah, that's bullshit. Like the complexity and right, because there's no easy way to scale your business. It's like all these little things slowly compound, right? Is one 5-day email sequence going to be the thing? No, you got to launch it and then you got to tweak it and then you got to update the CTAs and then okay, email 2 is a low open rate and then okay, well, how do we get the open rate up? Now the click-through rate's low. Okay, how do I go back into it's all of that, right? That's how you scale. It's a million of those little things, and there's no way you get to that type of scale without having a tool and a tech stack that helps you optimize a whole bunch of these steps. So I just been through this with a few different tools. And I just know the way that I personally lean, which is I would rather have the flexibility and the customization and spend an extra X dollars a month.
Dude, you end up spending money when you do an email course because now you add more people to your ConvertKit. And now you need to spend more money on ConvertKit to hold more contacts. And then you're like, great, now you just, boom, there goes another $50 a month or whatever it is that they're charging now. Yeah. So yeah, it's just going to add up. No, and then when you're doing that, then your Zapiers, and then you need more Zaps.
Yeah, dude, I was just thinking that. I was like, fuck, I'm already at 4. I think you get 5 for free, 5 free Zaps on the free plan.
Now it's unlimited one-step apps. They changed it not too long ago.
What do you mean?
Zapier gives you unlimited one-step Zaps for free. It's just 100 actions or like 100 runs per month, I think is the limit now.
Oh.
Yeah, they got you now.
I think I'm over that scale, but I'm happy to pay for that, right? More than 100 Zaps a month means some good stuff is happening, and I'm happy to pay when good stuff is happening.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed. But like this stuff adds up more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
So yeah, someone who's like, yeah, I do it with $90 a month is like, I know that's just total bullshit.
Yeah.
All right. So you're building the course, want to launch. How are you packaging and positioning this stuff? I mean, this is like kind of where the rubber meets the road. How are you going through the process of figuring out what is good enough? Because we know it's not that there's right or wrong or done or perfect. Yep. It's just like, how are you getting to good enough and deciding on going through that process?
It's hard, man. Are you asking for the curriculum or for marketing and positioning the curriculum?
Let's start with marketing and positioning, but I think the curriculum is really important and is an often overlooked part of like what goes in and what comes out. But let's start with how you're just packaging and positioning it.
Yeah, and actually, maybe I guess my answer as I'm talking my way through it kind of overlaps both. So when I thought about what to make, I did this exercise where I thought through like, who's my ICP? Who do I sell to? I try to get really specific around like who they are and kind of what's going on in their life. And then I listed out 10 of their goals and 10 of their challenges, things that I knew would prevent them from achieving their goals. And it was a little easier for me because I've done this job before. So I'm kind of talking to former Andrew. And I obviously use ChatGPT to like kind of stress test my thinking in this. And it led me to a short list of outcomes that people who are in these roles want and a short list of challenges that typically prevent them from getting there. And sometimes the challenges are like mindset and like in between the ears challenges. And then other times they're things that are outside of their control. And I use that to think through what could I make that would help them get past their challenges to achieving their goals faster. And so I use that kind of as a starting point actually of brainstorming what could the curriculum look like? And like, how do I customize things that I've been doing intuitively, but frame them in a way that is more related to like goals and challenges? So I use that actually from the inception of thinking through what could the curriculum be. And then I sort of already had that short list, and then I took it and really pressed on it on the website. So like if you look at the landing page, you can link to it. It's deliveringvalue.co/growth dash operating dash system. So growth operating system. And in it, I think the H1 is like, what is the outcome that you want? And like the subheader is like, and what are the things that prevent you from getting there? And then if you scroll down the page, really the first 2/3 of the page are talking specifically around goals and challenges, and really heavy on the challenges. And then the last third of the page is like, and here's how I've solved it for you. And here's what the modules look like. And here's what you're actually paying for if you get access. Is it a cohort? Is it a self-guided program? Are there templates in there? And so that's how I approach that, kind of thinking through the end in mind.
Dude, I just pulled it up here.
Yeah.
And you're following the format. I mean, it's literally just saying like, what is this?
Right.
Like, how does it work? What category of solution am I looking at? How do I do this thing? What problem does this thing solve for me? Why you?
Yes.
Like,
yep.
These are some of the most basic things that get lost in translation.
Dude, it's so hard to get this. Like I know you and I have talked about this a bunch. You give me feedback on my coaching page, which was very similar feedback to this. But I mean, literally the H1, right? So it's like, what is it? The growth operating system. Install the system that takes you from overwhelmed player coach, which is like one of the problems that people have, to respected strategic leader, which is one of the outcomes and goals that folks have. Without, what are the things that stop people from getting there, from burning out, from working too hard, from micromanaging the team without meaning to. So I started brainstorming those things, and that led me into the curriculum, and that made it easier to market this page. But then I just took it and ran with it, right? Who's it for? A little bit of social proof in there. Yeah, why me? And then the thing that I thought was interesting, this was actually something that they encouraged in the 30 for 30 program, was they said, now list out the 10 problems, the 10 most common problems that prevent your potential customers from getting to the outcome that they want, and see if you can give it a unique name. And so that was kind of a fun exercise for me. So instead of saying like, hey, everything flows through you and you get slowed down because you're making a million decisions during the day, like that's one of the challenges, I called it the bottleneck trap. And so now all of a sudden I can kind of have unique framing and unique ways of talking about this stuff that's unique to me, but that I think will really speak. Like my hope is that my ICP looks at this and they just are nodding like up and down as they read this page, and they're like, fuck, this is me, this is me, this is me. I don't know what this program's going to be, but probably it's going to be for me.
Yeah. I mean, also ChatGPT is so good at doing that. Like it names everything anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like very much, and you have it here. It's like, all right, well, do you suffer from the bottleneck trap, player coach overload, calendar chaos, strategy guilt? And it takes you through the whole thing. And these are some of the little things that get overlooked, because what you've done is you've described how the problem shows up in their life and in their work.
So I tried to get into moments. It's funny, we're talking a lot about school. So Hormozy is, I don't know if he's the owner or just like a biggest shareholder or spokesperson.
He's involved in some intimate way.
So I have sort of like an interesting relationship with his content, where I think for a long time, I didn't like it. Like I didn't really like his style of content. I listened to a podcast he did with Chris Williamson, and in it somewhere he said like, hey, I love my goals and the pursuit of achieving my goals more than I love anything else in life, including my wife. And like I told her, I think I love my goals more than I even have love for you in our relationship. And I, as like a dad and a family man, it just didn't speak to me, and it sort of repelled me a little bit. But he's had a new content series on YouTube that I can't get enough of, dude. I've been binging it. And he coaches business owners. And so he'll take like a consultant business. He had like a fashion consulting business. He had like a small business lawyer. He takes all these different businesses and he breaks down the numbers, and then he coaches them through it. And one of the things that he talks about is when writing landing page and conversion copy, to get specifically into moments. So don't just say, oh, you want to win more time back in the day. Talk about the meeting that they're in, that they're looking at, they're tapping their pencil, trying to get the fuck out of the meeting because their kids are at home and they got to hurry it up. And so I tried to take that and, with the taste and my preferences and kind of make it my style.
Hormozy is definitely an acquired taste. I've had a similar experience where like the first few times I saw stuff, I was like, it's just not for me. And then over the last few months or a year or so, I started being like, all right, I'm starting to see it, like see the appeal. And there's definitely a lot of good stuff. And I like this idea of moments. Like I've always articulated just like, how does it show up in their life and in their work? How would you know?
Yeah.
What do you have to say to someone to get them to go, do you have a hidden camera in my office? Because that's literally the only way you would know this stuff.
Dude, you'll love that coaching series. It's so good.
All right, I'm going to check it out.
And like what I've done with some of it is I've listened to the episode, felt like, oh shit, I wish I had my pencil like taking notes. So I've taken the episode. There's a YouTube to text URL that you can use. So you plug in, you can do one for free every 24 hours. So you plug in the URL and then you'll say, turn it into a framework that I can use to solve this specific problem in my business. And it's so fucking good, dude.
I'm going to give you one better. Okay. Every YouTube video has a transcript button. Like if you hit like, see the description, show more, at the bottom it says show transcript. You just copy and paste the transcript right in ChatGPT.
I'm gonna be busy now.
So you don't even have to use your credit. You don't even have to use your YouTube transcriber credit anymore.
Yeah.
It's already there. All right, man. So offers coming together. What was the most unexpected or most like difficult part about turning your, what I like to consider analog expertise into a digital curriculum? I mean, I know you've done it in the past, but this is like, you've kind of reimagined it. What was like one of the more unexpected, frustrating or difficult parts of this process?
Dude, the hardest part, and this is why I actually think it's such a valuable thing to do. Even if I never sold one of these, it would still be super valuable. Everybody makes a million decisions every single day. And when you're the subject matter expert in a thing, you make a million decisions and you have a million assumptions and you use your intuition in ways that you kind of can't re-engineer anymore. You just do them intuitively. And so it was going through that process and thinking through, if I'm going to advise somebody on their team structure and they weren't sitting next to me and I couldn't ask them questions, what would be the framework that I could teach, the process that I would do intuitively if we were having a conversation so that they can do it without me? And thinking through how to have that and how to reverse engineer that process for like team structure and how to make like, what does a good strategy look like and what templates might be applicable if we were running an experimentation program. If your traffic was low, how would it look? If your traffic was high, what would it look like? What would be the tool and tech stack that I might recommend? And those are all things that I'll do with clients. And again, it's a seamless process that I don't think much about, but thinking through what would a checklist look like to talk somebody through the way that I think about it was really freaking hard.
To do it without you. That's the hard, that was, yes. I agree wholeheartedly. That was the hardest part. And one of the things that I had to accept about when we launched Full Stack was like, I'm going to launch this curriculum and it's going to be good, but it's not going to be its final form. And I've since rewritten the program, I think 2, maybe 3 times.
Yep.
Since it's launched, because you get the feedback and you're like, oh, this part could be significantly more clear.
Right. How did I miss this? Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, oh, duh. Like, or it's just like, you don't realize what you just described that happens that you're doing privately, which is you're just spelling it out or you're collecting all the information that you need to make a recommendation or to help somebody move through a situation. But without you there, too much is being assumed. And it was hard for me. It was pretty hard for me to do the same thing. So after a few reps, you kind of figure out, you're like, oh, okay, like this is in a really great place that with or without me, someone should be able to read this and watch this video and go through this workbook and get to the desired end result.
So the first program I made, I told you I turned my 90-day, how to spend your first 90 days in a growth role. I turned that into a self-guided video program. And I spent, this is like, 4 years ago, before it was easy to whip up video and before I used CapCut or any of that kind of stuff. So I paid someone to help me like fine tune the script. Like I filmed it. I sent this person like .mov files and they edited it with like cool intros and outros and like jump cuts and stuff on the screen. And I think I paid like $5,000. It came out beautiful. But then I got feedback on it. It was like, oh, it'd be cool if it also included this. And they were like, well, you glossed over this one section. Any way to do an update? And I was like, fuck, man. There's no way to do it.
You're like, yeah, no, we're not editing these videos. It's not possible.
So now I'm taking a different approach, which is it's going to be lower fidelity. I use CapCut pretty regularly now, but I think it'll just be a really lightweight, maybe even just Loom with like cut out some awkward pauses or like where I lose train of thought or something like that. And that's probably going to be that'll probably be what the finished version looks like. And it'll just be way easier when I need to iterate, right? It's not if, it's when, just like what you talked about.
Yeah, I think I use Descript because it's like even easier. Like CapCut has too many options for me. I'm like, I need Descript. Let me just edit the text file and fix this. But because also when you realize that a module's missing, or you need to break something, like one of the things that I run into, and I'm curious if you run into this too, is certain modules are just like it's 3 in modules in one. You're like, I should have broken this thing down into smaller parts.
Yeah.
This should have been definitely 3 different lessons or something like that. It's definitely intense. But I think the whole point is like it's never done.
Yeah.
The work is never done, because the whole point is like, how do I do this so that someone can complete this work basically without me and achieve a level of success that you're proud of?
Yeah.
This is why so many people feel burned on courses.
Yeah, I think that's right. Well, and I think the other challenge that I've been thinking a lot about is that it's not just about information. Especially now with ChatGPT, the information is a given. It's got to be about the actions. And so I've been thinking a lot about like, what are the assets that I want to include? How do I coach people through using those assets? How to both create them, how to launch them, how to get feedback on them. And so I'm trying to work that into my curriculum as well, so that it's not just me sharing stuff, but it's me sharing the thing that I think you should build, explaining why it's so important, taking you through the 5 steps that you need to do it with the checklist to help you coach you along the way, and then teach you how to use it in your day-to-day, week to week. And that's the thing that I haven't done before. Like my last content, it was a worksheet and a bunch of information, like if I'm looking at it critically. And this I'm trying to do different, but I've never done it before. And so at some point you got to say, hey, I think this is enough depth for what this is going to be. And I don't know. I think it's a little bit of intuition with that stuff. And I'm still figuring it out as I go.
Yeah, I'm obsessed. Like I said this already. I was like, I'm obsessed with trying to figure out what's the proper engagement model. Because at some point, people don't need more information. They need someone to help them take action. And one thing we did, which I really like, which is basically we broke down every module by, here's a training, combination of text and video. Here's an exercise. It's inside the workbook. It's like basically here's a worksheet, and then here's a practice module. Go and share what you worked on with everybody here.
Oh, that's cool.
Open yourself up to feedback. And that I have found has been probably one of the more effective ways for people to really participate. I mean, look, there's always going to be people that don't do the thing. That's fine. But the people who do it like really seem to value the input from other people. And there's a level of like, they're also holding themselves accountable. It's like to putting their stuff out there. You can't go overboard with that stuff though, because at some point people are like, I'm done. So also making it short enough that people can get through.
Yeah. Dude, can I share something that I'm struggling with right now?
Always.
I don't know how much to charge. Been thinking a ton about it. It's a hard question, right? If I price it low, in theory, more people should buy it. But if they buy it and it's priced too low, it will have a perception that it's not that valuable, which means people won't do it all, which means they won't be successful, in which case I won't get testimonials and it won't have the intended outcome that I want it to have. But if I price it too high, then I have a different thing, which is then it becomes more of a mid-ticket offer, and that's sort of a tough spot to be. So it's something I've been thinking about a lot.
Yeah, so we have tested a lot of pricing models with full stack. So I'll share what we learned. There's an invisible threshold that is between somewhere around like $350, $500 and like $1,000. That is, you move from this is a digital product to this is a digital experience. So once you're getting into the 4 figures, even the high 3-figure offer, that's when you get into a weird place where people expect to see you on a call, provide some sort of feedback. Like you get into more environmental things. They want access at that price point. The lower price stuff, you've removed that expectation. But to your point, then you're kind of rolled up into, this is a course, dare I say, just another course that we know people don't really finish. People love collecting courses. It's a huge bummer. I mean, it's great for people to make money, but it's a huge bummer because everyone has courses and they go, I never finished it. It was bullshit. It was this, it was that. And let's just say, for your sake or for anyone's sake, the majority of us don't have the reach, and you were just talking about like the audience size, to sell something for $99 and make a living off of it. Like the Justin Welsh model of the $150 course, and to make several $1 million off of that is outrageous. And most people Very few people, the 0.01% of the world can do that. And then for you, it's like, well, how do I get out of, like, what's also motivating for you? Like, this information, is it worth $350? Is it worth $500? Like, so to price, I mean, I wish there was a really straight line here, a really direct answer of like, price at this, but this is also why engagement model for your offer matters.
Yeah. Here's what I've been thinking about. You can tell me your reaction. The number I have in my head is 397 is what I've been thinking about. It's low. Like in terms of what it is, I don't want to go any lower. Like initially when I made it, I was like, oh, maybe I'll charge 347 or 349 or whatever that, just under 350. And as I'm making it, I'm like, I need to charge more than that because I think it undersells the value. But I'm nervous to charge more than $400 because then it gets harder. And then at least I think that's my perception. I mean, feel free to coach me if you think I'm off, but here's my thinking. I was thinking I would charge $399 or $397 with the potential upsell at the moment of purchase, like an extra, maybe for $1,000, they get a half an hour call with me or a 45-minute call with me type of thing. And then just see and treat that like an experiment.
Definitely leverage add-ons and upsells and like order bumps. That is a very underutilized tactic at the checkout.
And can I do that with Sam Card or Thrive Card or whatever you're talking about?
Oh yeah, they'll have stuff like that are dedicated checkout softwares versus like trying to use School. School wants everybody on a monthly subscription, like all the people who are buying into core programs, into groups on monthly or some sort of annual recurring thing because that's their business model. But add-ons and order bumps are probably some of the most underrated, growth tactics of these types of programs. I think 397 is a great deal. You're going to find out one way or the other.
Yeah.
The hard thing is like, it's hard to lower the price.
I don't think I'm going to get lower. That's right. That's good feedback. Right. I could always raise it. It's funny. I listened to a podcast with Jay Klaus. He has the Creator Science podcast.
Yeah.
And he had Caitlin Burgoyne. I might be pronouncing her name correctly or incorrectly, but she talked about how she had a cohort that went live and they tried this thing where it was like, they're going to charge, I'm making the numbers up, $399 for the first 2 weeks. And then they were going to $499. And if you waited after this date, it was going to be $999. Right, she basically just said that wasn't like a super effective thing that everybody bought. And then nobody bought after that. Everybody bought the cheap thing. And then when they raised the price and they said, okay, the price is now full price, nobody bought after that. And she was like, all right, we're going to do something different for the next launch. And so I think about that as well. I wouldn't necessarily use it as a launch tactic, but maybe just slowly increase the price after a certain point if I felt like it was underselling the value of it.
Yeah, I know she runs, or she used to run, Unignorable.
That's the launch I'm talking about. Yep.
They did a thing for their last cohort. I don't know if they've done it before, but it was basically the first 50 people get it at this price. So instead of a time-based thing, they did it by a number of sales. So they're like, first 50 people get it at $399, then the next 50 get it at $499, then $599. And they basically said as more people purchased, the price went up. So there was a lot of tiers. There was like 5 or 6 tiers. And the increments were small enough that it was like, I should probably act now if I'm going to do it, type of thing. And then when you wait and the price kicks up, you're like, oh shit, like, all right, and it went up just enough to make you annoyed, right, but to not price you out. And you're like, all right, I'm just going to jump on it. So I think that there was definitely there was a lot of really interesting tactic there. One of the things too that you'll notice is that you're going to get a lot of pressure for payment plans. You're like, well, this thing's only $397. You're going to get a lot of pressure for payment plans. And for better or for worse, no matter where you position it, like one of the things that we tried to do we pushed really hard was like, this is for someone at a certain level of like buyer maturity. And the whole point was like, this is an underserved segment of the market, right? Like you're too early for coaching. Like you don't need another course. Like you need something in between. And you're never going to hit 100%. Like you're still going to get people that are outside of that want what you have, for better or for worse. And so there's something inside you that's like, I'm leaving money on the table by not offering other ways to purchase this. So trying to navigate that. I mean, there's no great way. There's no perfect science to it all, but I would say in terms of pricing, one of the things that I learned a lot of this from Erica is the launch pricing and not cutting way too deep, but deep enough to make it worth it. So a lot of people told us like our full stack launch pricing they were like, I'm not super motivated by that launch price.
What does that mean? Is that too high, too low, or what
It
does that
just
mean?
wasn't the disc. I think we did like $200 off. So we were selling the program for $1,000 and we did it, and it was $200 off at launch. And people were like, it's not
Right.
enough for me. I mean, but 20% off is a pretty good deal on a product like that, considering how much like access and FaceTime we were offering. So I don't know. I mean, look, you're never going to get everybody happy. It just is what it is. Like, it's just not possible. But I think the pricing thing is always going to be a problem. You're always going to think it's worth more than it is. Everyone's going to think it's always worth less than it is. And I would say stay true to like $397. You can make it work.
It feels right.
It feels right.
It feels right to me for what I'm giving away and the people, because there's a lot of people who reach out to me that want me to coach them. And then I share my one-on-one prices and they're like,
do you have a course?
Yeah. Well, they're just like, that's not going to work for me. Or it's like the timing isn't right in their life. And so for a lot of those folks, this would be a great fit at a price that I think is approachable, still providing a ton of value. And probably there's a small population that will upgrade and want to work with me eventually. And that's great too. And if that doesn't happen, that's also great. But candidly, like I'm hoping that will be part of this. Maybe 5% of the people that enroll could upgrade. And this is something I would experiment maybe with some paid ads behind, in addition to just the, organic and evergreen promotions and promoting it to my own lists. So I don't know. I'm like really excited to see what it unlocks. For the first time, I feel like I'm going through this transition where up until this point, I've been like a dude scrapping it together, trading time for dollars. And it's been great and it's supported my family and it's gotten me to this point. But when I think about who I want to get to, like where I want to become, like the vision of my life that I have in my head, this is a big part of it. And it's the system. So that maybe eventually I can get out, like I get a lot of my business through LinkedIn. I'm on the content hamster wheel. That's been very good to me. I have nothing, it's like I'm very gracious and appreciative of that. But I don't want to be doing that forever. So if I get off of that hamster wheel, I need to replace it with something. And so I'm excited to see if this could be the system that works. Again, I'm growing my media brands parallel to this. So I'm growing an audience of people who I can promote my stuff to. I can make money promoting other people's stuff, promote my own stuff. And so I just feel like for the first time in my business, I feel more like a business owner than just like a dude freelancing, figuring it out.
I totally get that. And that is a motivation that a lot of us have as we build out. And honestly, there's a lot of parallels with the model that you're running and what we're trying to build out. I mean, we just launched the Full Stack Soulpreneur Substack. We just launched the podcast that goes with that. We're considering stripping Full Stack down and being able to offer just the course at around a similar price point. We're considering how do we do some sort of add-on or upsell to group to make some things more accessible. So there's a lot of parallels with the type of model, and get some brand deals and try to build out. Like, how do you get paid to create?
Dude, 100%.
And spend
100%.
less time on Zoom calls and in the content hamster wheel.
Dude, here's where it gets really fun. So I've just started teasing that I'm making this new program. And I've had a few potential sponsor type companies reach out saying like, hey, I saw you talk about this thing. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for us to get involved. And so now that wasn't part of my plan. I don't know if that will be part of the finished product, but now I'm like, well, shoot, I got this thing. I'm going to sell it to my audience anyways. Could it be co-presented by somebody else? Maybe. I don't know. Something that I'm thinking about. I haven't quite figured out what good could look like there, but it's like every level of this solopreneur game. It's like you don't know what opportunities present themselves until they do. And if you just keep going and trying new stuff, eventually you start to see the opportunities everywhere. And it's just a matter of what kind of business do you want and how do you get there? So I feel better hearing that you're on a similar journey because I'm like, man, maybe this is the right path. I should just feel better about it and not second guess every step.
Dude, no path is easy. There's no path is easy. I mean, every single person I talk to on the show basically has some version of the same story, which is like, no path. It basically boils down to no path is easy. I mean, even no matter, I've had people on that have 100,000 followers, massive audience, all this stuff. They're like, I was nervous. I was scared. I had all these limiting beliefs about what was possible. And it just tells you, no matter what you're going to do, you're going to figure it out. Yes. But it's also, you're going to question a lot of stuff. Like there's no straight shot to to building any of this stuff. Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to figure it out. Like, no one is amazing at every single corner of doing this work. Like, the whole point of us doing any of this work too is that you have your core competency. You understand not one thing, but it's like you have your core. This is the thing that you're the best in the world at. Creating digital products and launching all this shit. You're like, look, like I can apply my knowledge to that form factor in that medium, but that's not like the thing I'm the best in the world at. Like, I'm not the greatest email marketer known to man. Like, and understanding where do you draw your lines? That was an eye opener for me. Like, working with Eric, I was like, I am way better on the mic, on a Zoom call, doing my thing. Like, I shouldn't be staring at a flashing cursor on LinkedIn. Like, and Erica's like, yeah, I'm the marketing muscle. Like, let's lean into what we're really, really good at. And just like, duh, it's a lot of duh stuff, but you're like, oh, okay. Like, why not? I should just do more of that.
Yeah.
And get the help where you need it. So I get it, man. There's no straight shot. And no matter what type of model you try to build, you're going to end up in a similar spot. But it's like, I guess the whole point is what Devin Reed told me. He's like, it's not about like playing to not lose. It's playing to keep playing.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's the goal, right? Play the infinite game, to just keep playing, to keep going, to keep figuring it out. The thing I always think about is if it's going to be hard and you're going to struggle and you're going to have self-doubt and there's going to be ups and downs, you might as well build a business that you like. Because, right, if it's hard and you don't like what you're doing, then it's going to feel really shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, you might as well build a business you enjoy. Too many people have built a prison. That's like the real shitty thing, is when you look up and you're like, why the fuck did I do that?
I just think it's easy to do that when you start. You say yes to stuff, trying to make a couple of bucks. Oh, could you do this thing? Well, that's not what I really want to do, but I'll do it one time. Well, this client kind of seems a little shitty. Well, I'll take one. I mean, the pay seems pretty good, right? So I think it's easy to make those concessions at some point. And then eventually you need to have a really clear vision on like what good looks like and what you want to have out of your life and how work fits into that. And saying it out loud for my own self as much as anybody listening, you know?
Dude, I know, because there's only so much energy we have for one type of life, like to be so tethered to your calendar or whatever it is that you're doing, to be on the LinkedIn content hamster wheel for however long. Like, there's your tolerance is only so high for all that stuff in the long term. So I think it's like really fun and glamorous now for a lot of people, but I think as time goes on, we're going to see who sticks around and who doesn't. Either they've built the thing that they really want, or they're willing to go and shift to go get it. And I got a lot of respect and admiration for you just seeing it and being super aware of it. I mean, like, it's not that I don't love what I'm doing, but as my life evolves, I need this to evolve with it to better fit the need. And dude, I get, as someone with 2 kids, you're like, the more time I can spend staring at these children, because they're only going to be this little for a very short amount of time, like, the better. And whatever I got to do to make that happen is like, I will do.
I mean, that's the motivation, dude. When I first started my business and I went out, my wife was, I shared this in the first episode. My wife we had just given birth to our son. He was 6 months old. My wife wasn't working. She had left her job. Her job was very high stress. So she had left it, had our son. I was the sole income earner. And then when I went on my own, I was like, I have to make this work. I will make it work. If I can't make it work, I will go on Fiverr. I'll make an alias. I will take on work that is 10 steps below me to make enough money to make this work. And I will figure it out on the side. And when I meet other people that are making this leap, I can almost tell if they'll make it or not. If they're like, I'm all in, I will figure it out. I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it and I will figure it out. I'm like, okay, you got this. That's the right mindset. And when I meet folks who are like, I'll dip my toe in and maybe I'll see if I could get a freelance fractional CMO kind of thing. I'm like, I don't think that's the persona that you need and the mindset that you need to really play the game and win it.
Dude, 1,000%. 1,000%. I think that's the perfect place to end here today, dude. Thank you for coming back and jamming, dude. It's always a lot of fun to see where things are at, and I can't wait to see how this launch goes and to see what's up in a year, man.
Appreciate it.
Hey, it's Nick. Thanks for listening. If you want to take part in amazing conversations like these, then you need to check out Full Stack Soulpreneur, where you'll get access to bi-weekly group coaching clinics, guest mini courses from legendary soulpreneurs like Morgan Ingram and Max Trailer, and so much more. You can join right now at fullstacksolo.com. That's fullstacksolo.com.